YouTube world, there is a line of thinking that your snap judgments are your most accurate judgment. Always trust your first impression. Your intuition is always to be trusted, and there are books about that. Who writes books like that? Malcolm Gladwell? What a smart guy he is. I disagree with that. I want to share with you a story. Close to 20 years ago, I was teaching composition and I was telling a joke. I remember I was wearing this dark blue Italian sport coat, and I'm one of these guys who, when I'm telling a joke and I see my students laughing, I have this third eye and I can see everyone laughing. And there was this one student who was not laughing. She was a large, corpulent woman with an indolent expression, large, flaring nostrils. And I was fascinated as I was telling this joke, and the students were laughing, that this woman was completely motionless, completely expressionless, just sitting like this. And I saw a fly go around her head. It was a baby fly. It went into her left nostril. Disappeared for a while. I think as I was lecturing and making the students laugh, the fly was still there because about 30 seconds later, it exited her left nostril, went around her head a few times, and went back into the nose. Now, what astonished me about this is if a fly went in my nose, I would go, wah! And I would go crazy. And this woman was completely expressionless and motionless. Uh, I do give a lecture to my students. It's called my zombie student lecture, where I say, come on, man, you're shuffling in here with no nutrition in your body. You haven't had any sleep. You know, your head's on your desk and there's a pool of saliva on your desk. Look at the way you're sitting. You need to be sitting upright. You need to get a pure flow of oxygen from your diaphragm up to your brain. But if you're slouched, you're blocking that. You're like a zombie, man. You know, and there's this temptation to make a snap judgment and say, well, this student who's just sitting there motionless, not engaged in the class, withdrawn, that she's going to be in a heap of trouble. She's going nowhere. And based on my experience, I would say that making such a judgment could be very inaccurate, and we need to be aware of that. You have to realize I was a teenager in the 1970s, and so I'm not a millennial like these young guys who seem to be very social. They're on social media and they're very comfortable socializing with people. I was your 1970s teenage caveman, had no social skills whatsoever, completely socially awkward, felt imprisoned and enchained by self-consciousness and social awkwardness. And it appears to me that that was more common with men in my generation. I could be wrong. So what I want to tell you is, if you were to take a snapshot of me when I was in college, you might make some very inaccurate assessments of me. You'd probably say, this is a guy who's going nowhere. This is a guy who's got serious problems, which was all true, by the way. I mean, at one point, I remember I had a beard in 1985, this huge, thick beard. And I think my professors were scared of me. I mean, I weighed about 230 pounds. I was benching 400, and I would just sit in the back. And I wonder if a fly went in my nose, if I would have made any movement. But I was hanging out with this tough guy named Martino Franconi, and we would cruise the strip at night, and I wouldn't do any homework. East 14th and San Leandro in his red Ranchero. And Franconi was this brute. I mean, there was rumors that he dented a guy's head with his dented a guy's car with his head, that he had driven his mini bike through a church, broke his leg, but didn't even know he had a broken leg until 3 days later. And so I was hanging out with the tough guy, Franconi. We were bodybuilding. We thought we were going to be Mr. Universe and live in the Bahamas and be so famous that people would want to sponsor us to sell protein supplements. And I remember he didn't have very good jobs. I was not doing very well in college. I was on academic probation my first year. And as I tell my students, I was in bonehead English, which you're not even allowed to say bonehead today, but that's what they called it. And I was so pathetic that I was kicked out of bonehead English. It was pre-bonehead English. And then I failed out of algebra, and I was put on academic probation my freshman year of college. And I remember my friend Franconi, he had really bad jobs. He would work at Toys R Us, Hunt's Tomato Ketchup Factory, then a margarine factory. And I was about 19 years old, and I went with him to the unemployment office uh, because he was looking for work. There would be notices on the bulletin board at the unemployment office, and he would talk to one of the agents who worked behind this thick plastic partition, and the guy smoked, and there was nicotine yellow all over this institutional, ugly building. Looked like it was made in Soviet Russia, 1955. And as I was standing next to my friend Franconi, looking at this little mouse behind the partition, going, "What do you want?" I had this "what the hell am I doing" moment, and I was overcome by fear, and I realized I was at a crossroads in my life. And I don't ever want to go to the unemployment office again. It's hell. It's humiliation. It's a place I don't want to go. So I so taken by that moment that I started getting really serious in college, and my friendship with Franconi disintegrated gradually, and which it had to do for me to do well in college. And you know, people who went to high school with me thought I was going to be this miserable failure, and they would congratulate me. They would see me, "Oh my God, you're an English professor now. Let me shake your hand." And I never said this to them, but I felt like saying, "Would you please shut up? I didn't choose to do this great thing with my life." I'm going to be honest with you, and I told my students this. After I had that "what the hell am I doing" moment, I felt like there was a gun to my head every morning, and I would wake up and I was driven by fear. I didn't want to go to the unemployment office or work at Hunt's Ketchup Tomato Factory or a butcher place and have boils and bacterial infections all over my hands like Franconi did. I was completely terrified. And when I tell this story to my students, a lot of my students who are international say, "Oh yeah, that's me too, man. My parents, they sacrificed everything so I could come to your country from Korea, China, Japan, Nigeria, Pakistan, India, Iran, and I have no choice. McMahon, I'm completely with you. I have a gun to my head, and I need to succeed in college. Otherwise, I will be humiliated. I will be ostracized. I will be dead to my family." And while I did not have explicit family pressures like that, mine were all internal. There would be this sense of shame, and I could not go down the path of Franconi, my high school buddy. He was 3 years older than I was. And so I don't think we should make flash judgments of people in a snapshot, because some people in life, for whatever reason, I don't know why this happens, but some people in life do have a "what the hell am I doing" moment, and some don't. Did you know I went to high school with a guy? He's a chain smoker, and he only eats 3 foods: M&Ms, Coke, and cheeseburgers. His smoking, I don't remember the details, resulted in him having one of his lungs taken out. I don't know if it was cancer or some kind of disease. I don't know what it was. He only has one lung. He still smokes. He still only eats M&Ms, Coke, and cheeseburgers. He has boils on his face. He drives a truck. He's going to die. He's never had the "what the hell am I doing" moment. There are guys I went to high school with, their IQ is way higher than mine. You want to know what they do? They pump gas. And they have children in other states from different women. And like, they sleep like babies at night. You want to know something? If I was in that situation, I would be more of a neurotic than I already am. I would be a complete mess, and I already consider myself to be somewhat of a dumpster fire to begin with. I don't need extra complications. I don't understand the mentality, but I don't think people choose the mentality. I think we're hardwired with it, and we always get into this long discussion with my students. You know, do we choose to be successful in college, or are we just hardwired to feel the pressure of the gun to our head? Interesting debate. I'm not going to tackle it any more than I've already addressed it right now. I had a student who had a "what the hell am I doing" moment. She was a drug addict. She lived inside a car with her boyfriend, who was also a drug addict, and she told me in my office a few years ago. One morning, I woke up in my car, and it was like, "What the hell am I doing?" I just want a normal life, man. I want credit cards. I want to be able to write checks. I want to be able to live in an apartment, have a normal job. She broke up with her boyfriend, got off drugs. She didn't even go to rehab. She just had one of those what the hell am I doing moments. Uh, so some of you are going to have these moments, and some of you are not going to have them. I'm fascinated by why some people have such this epiphany that changes their life, and why some don't. I did, and it was life changing. It resulted in the death of a friendship, but there was a new life for me. I can't say I chose it. I feel that fear is just part of my hardwiring. So I have kind of ambivalent feelings about the type of discipline that I exercise in that way. I'd be fascinated to know if you've had such a moment, or if you're still waiting for it. Of course, if you're the type of person who's thinking about it, you probably did. I mean, if having such an epiphany is on your radar screen, you probably did have such a moment. So, in conclusion, I don't think we should judge people from a snapshot. If you see some indolent-looking person with a fly in her nostril, don't write her off. She may be having a "what the hell am I doing" moment, and you may not get to see it, but it could happen. And I will talk to you guys next time. I'm out.